Yeah, cool. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us here. My name is Levy, and I'm thrilled to have you all here with the panel of the rise of social media and non-traditional football coverage. Myself, I'm a content creator and host in football, having worked for 433, FC Barcelona, Ajax, and FIFA. Now, since 3 years, I founded a talent management agency for football creators called Double Tap, representing Fabrizio Romano, amongst others. So I know a thing or two about non-traditional football coverage, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by three stars in their fields. Tim Edwards, sports lead for Ireland and UK at TikTok. Robbie Lyle, Arsenal Fan TV, founder, presenter, everything, right? And Juul Manders, for CEO of 433, and also my former boss. But Juul, today I will be asking the questions. Before we start with the discussions, please, I will give you time to introduce yourselves. Let's start with you, Tim.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. My name's Tim Edwards. As Avi said, I lead sports partnerships at TikTok for the UK and Ireland. So we work across a really large cohort of sports account on TikTok, whether that be the top sports content creators in the UK, leagues, rights holders, governing bodies, content publishers, athletes. We see ourselves as very much connecting the dots between their goals and what they hope to get out from having a regular and authentic presence on TikTok, in terms of whether that's in terms of audience acquisition, whether that's in terms of visibility in new markets, etc. We try and be kind of the connective tissue between those two.
Perfect. Robbie?
Do everything, innit? Like you said.
Yeah,
Founder of AFTV and DR Sports. Also the GFN network as well, which also encapsulates a load of football influencers based in the UK. And I think that's quite a good description when you say I do a lot of everything, because I do presenting, but also coming up with content ideas and just creating content in this digital space.
Yeah, just to be clear, AFTV stands for Arsenal Fan TV.
It does. Big Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Nobody mentioned Man City in the room, or you have to leave.
What about you, Jules?
We did a very nice collaboration with Man City. Oh no, okay. Recently. I'm a co-founder and CEO of 43 and Baller, but today we are talking about 43. We love to call ourselves the largest independent football community in the world. And, looking at our traffic, I think we are the number one. Spearheading it from Amsterdam, so it's a home game for us today. And, existing now is 10 years, loving what we do. There are numerous new potential ventures we can do. It's an amazing world where we live in today, with a lot of opportunities, and I love to be here. And a lot of the time I'm also manager of everything, but we'll see.
Fantastic. Very happy to have you guys here. Joe, what happened to your hand?
Yeah, you hit me just before the meeting. He did actually, but he was not aware of it. So I had planned surgery, so it will be fine. A couple of weeks in the sling.
Cool. Cool, guys. Let's start with one general question for all of you. How has social media changed coverage if you compare it to before? Like from traditional sports networks.
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
So I can obviously talk with very much like a TikTok lens on this. Like I think what we've seen, like when we research what users and consumers of sports content on TikTok are looking for, like their content expectations have really changed over the last kind of like particularly like 10 years before TikTok even existed. And when I started in the industry, it was, now it's very much around like the surrounding content around the sport, whether that's behind the scenes content, whether that's player led content. They really want to see if it's premium content such as highlights. See what you can use in terms of creating tools, creative tools on the app to add an extra layer of context, to add your own spin to that onto that content. If I've seen that goal during the live broadcast on TV, what layer can you add onto that will make me want to watch it again, maybe even several times in app. 3 or 4 days later, and I think kind of with that kind of change in expectations of content, that's in turn change kind of what we see in terms of like the editorial, particularly I would say from clubs, for example. So that would be really different in terms of how players were being used. Like if you'd have told me that 10 years ago that you'd have academy footballers doing day in the life posts of away at international duty, what it's like for a footballer during Ramadan, for example, and not just filming that content themselves, but also providing the voiceover to it. I would say that I think that's really representative of kind of what a step change this kind of new expectation of digital content from users have brought about.
Thank you. And Juul, for you, how has social media changed the landscape of football coverage from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it was in the early days we said, oh, there's a vision that it will, the mobile becomes the second screen. And I think if you talk about football and eyeballs, it's today is the first screen. And I think that sums up what happened in the past 10 years. And giving a lot of credits for companies like TikTok, I think they showed us, especially with the infinite scrolling vertical and with the strong algorithm. Now today, of course, also with Instagram Reels. They show that and they prove that they can entertain you like you want to be entertained in the sports world. And I think that's this is just the beginning.
Robbie? I promise I won't speak about Arsenal's trophies this season. For your perspective, you being in fan TVs, how do you balance representing fan opinions and how do you balance fan opinions, but also journalistic integrity or your full-on fan opinion?
I think it's about challenging people when they because we on our platform we allow people to have their opinion, and sometimes a fan's opinion will differ. Number one, to other fans' opinions, to the vast majority of fans' opinions, it may differ to say the club's opinions. So it's about challenging people. It's about asking them. If somebody says, like for instance, the other day when at the end of the season. There was a fan that came onto the platform who said that he feels that Arsenal should change the manager. Now, to 95% of the fans, they're like, this guy's crazy. Why would you want to change our manager? He's doing a fantastic job. We just missed out on winning the league by 2 points. But that's his opinion. So that was in my job as the interviewer to challenge him and to say, well, why? Give me good reasons why. Who would you bring in next? And so that's the way in which you balance it up. But you don't want to stop a fan from having his opinions because we all have different opinions. We all, I'll go to a game sometimes and I'll see a player who I feel was the man of the match. And another fan thinks he didn't have that great a game. We all have different opinions around football. And I think that's what makes football so amazing. That's what makes it so engaging. Because there's so many opinions. If you polled people in this room about something to do with football, you get a lot of different opinions around it. So you don't want to suppress that, but it's your duty to challenge it and make sure that people speak about it in a respectful way as well.
Yeah, I remember Arsenal Fan TV gaining a lot of popularity when things went really bad a few years ago, right? In your opinion, what's better for the ratings? When things go good or?
I get asked this question a lot. A lot of people used to say, oh, well, you're doing all right because the team's not doing well. But then I've not seen any of those people over the last couple of years when we nearly won the league. And none of them's come and said anything. And that's because at the end of the day, it's about being consistent. And we're at every single game. Win, lose, draw. And that's the thing. This is the thing with football. If you speak to football fans, those football fans love their club. They don't want to be criticising their club. So it's about being at every single game. And at the end of the day, the biggest amount of views you get for games are the biggest games. So if Arsenal are playing Manchester United, the views are huge. If Arsenal are playing City in the run-in, or those are where the the massive views are. Yeah, you can get a little spike if you have a shock defeat or something like that. But at the end of the day, we don't work off of single games. We work off of the whole season, and not even the whole season, even now during the transfer window. And that is about being consistent and showing up to absolutely every single game. And also not just the game, because that's the thing about social media. It's no longer just about the game. The big conversations go on before the game, then you have 90 minutes, and then after the game. And it's sort of going to your first question that you sort of put to these guys, and that how social media has changed football, is that football's completely different to when I was younger and I was watching football and we just sat around and we watched the game and then we got up afterwards and maybe had a little argument with my brothers about it and went. Now, the football, watch people when they're watching football, they all got their phones. They're all messaging each other, bantering friends, going back and forth, on little incidents within the game. So the conversation around football is huge. Big conversation before the game, watch the game, huge conversation after the game. Then after a few days, we move on to the next game. And that's where you get your views. It's not about shock losses and stuff like that. And that's the secret sauce that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, I hear you mentioned consistency. And speaking of consistency, Juul, 433 has built a massive following around, obviously, football, fan-centric content. What do you think has been 433's key to build such a powerhouse?
Staying true to ourselves. I think there's the authenticity, which Robbie meant. We made use of all the new innovations came up on the platforms. But I think we had a strong concept, and the concept is still going for us today. It's the locker room fun. We try to have a sort of like locker room environment where you and your teammates talk about football. And a lot of times it's fun, but of course it's talking about the game, match, what happened, the highs and the lows. And then from the clubhouse, and that's more a bit of a situation where we're now today with our app, which we launched, then they go into the clubhouse together. And what we try to stay true to that concept. So authenticity is really, really important. And we are on top of every post we do. So if a post has not 1 million views soon, something went wrong. So then we have a look at it, and on TikTok yesterday I saw like one of the pinned posts had more than 50 million views. So what happened? So we are still very curious and enthusiastic and fanatic. Like, what is driving growth? What are the comments? What is the inner circle humor going around? And that's like that's our Champions League moments, like the top sports moments. Like, what is making us great? And I think we're still on as the core founders team. We're still on top of that every day. For more than 10 years, we have conversations every day about this. So I think that's I think the secret weapon. Stay true to your concept and what you like.
Yeah, and you just mentioned it, TikTok. A lot of content sits on TikTok nowadays. Robbie mentioned it also before. That, obviously the traditional way was you sit with your friends, you watch some football. Now, it's not a new concept to anyone here in the room, the second screen experience, but I think it's also more than the second screen experience. It's only the second screen experience, not even watching those 90 minutes. This is also something I hear many times also from the 433 side. How do you experience that of people just getting everything in just by TikTok? So watching football highlights on TikTok, consuming everything around the match on TikTok. Do you try to stimulate that, or?
Yeah, I think like just like kind of every big kind of fixture or cup final, whatever it is, like that is always organically going to have a really high user demand from our users on TikTok. Kind of like whether you're a club, whether you're a creator, whether you're a publisher, whether you're an athlete, if you have an involvement in that, and if you get involved in that in your content, then you're giving yourself a really high ceiling for discoverability. And the way in which and the way in which you can most effectively leverage that is, what can you share for example, like exclusively around that. So you were Juul was kind of like talking around kind of like that locker room content, for example. So like if you're a team, if you're a team or an athlete, for example, like what can you do say like in the build up in kind of the week around that before that game, where that's around like interviewing all the players, getting them to all jump on a trend, for example, behind the scenes content from the locker, either before or after the game. Like think about what are your exclusive content opportunities that you can really own. Like I think it kind of sits outside of football, but I think one of the most famous examples of that was actually the Tokyo Olympics, where you saw that kind of sat as a real kind of like red herring for us in terms of content consumption. It mostly comes from ordinarily major sporting event. Most of that content consumption will come from rights holders, highlights, for example. Whereas the Olympics, the majority of that came from the athletes there, because they had the exclusive window into sharing content from the athlete village that no one else could see and experience. And the ones who the ones who capitalized that were the ones who were most kind of able to keep their TikTok audience, keep their TikTok brand alive for years to come after the games as well.
Tim, what unique features of TikTok do you think has really driven the sport's popularity?
I think kind of the discoverability on TikTok, as I was saying, like what we always say to every partner is that if you're creating football content on the app, if you get the right content, it has the chance not just to be seen by followers of your club, but by football fans worldwide generally. And I think we know that TikTok users are generally happier and more interested to engage, watch once or once again a piece of content that might not necessarily come from their sphere. Say for example, if they're an Arsenal fan. So really think about, okay, like what is that piece of content, and what's the hook that's going to make it kind of like likeliest to kind of travel outside of your bubbles. So as I was saying, like behind the scenes content, a really good example. Like I got served on my For You feed. I think it might have been the Liverpool women's team on my For You feed, because Taylor Swift is obviously doing her big global tour. I don't know if she's come here yet, but Liverpool went around and interviewed all the players, asking them all what their favorite Taylor Swift song was. And that's a brilliant hook, because it's scalable. You can get the opinions of a lot of the players. It gets them interacting. It gets them arguing with each other. And also like that is a form of a trend, because it's something that's trending on the app. It's something that people are posting content about, searching for. So again, it gets you seen with users who are engaging with a very very different type of content as well.
What's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
I can't think of a Taylor Swift song at the moment. What's one?
You're asking me.
Robbie, what strategies have you found most effective in engaging with fans?
I think it's for us, it's a lot about being on all the platforms now. You mentioned TikTok. Like when we sort of first started doing AFTVs, we were mainly a YouTube channel, and we've branched out into literally every platform. So to engage with your audience, you have to be where the audience is, and the audience is everywhere now on various different platforms. So you have to be there. You have to be there, and you have to provide content, that the audience want to see, and also, I always think more importantly, what they want to engage with, because that's for me is the key to all our content. When people are engaging, when people are talking to you, and you're going back and forth and talking, that's the key. So, if you say pinpoint a particular type of content, all of our content is all about engaging, about giving people a chance to have their say, and about talking with them. But you need to be on the various different platforms, and that's one of the big changes I've seen over the 12 years since I've been doing AFTV and DR Sports, is the fact that the growth of all the different platforms and the way in which people consume football is forever changing. Live content is huge for us. Going live, that's absolutely massive for us, and it gives the audience a chance to really engage and go back and forth with you. So it's about embracing new technology, embracing platforms. I mean, like all this AI stuff that's coming in now, I find like really, really exciting. I know a lot of people are scared of it. I find I saw the other day where my team got my videos, converted into about 6 different languages. I was speaking Hindi, I was speaking Arabic, I was speaking Spanish, in my voice. It blew me away. And then I thought, let me test this. I asked one of our guys who speaks Spanish, and he's like, "Oh, Robbie, when do you learn how to speak Spanish?" It's like really. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming in that will get us an even bigger audience. So it's forever. I think that's the key to social media. It's forever changing, because TikTok's I still look at TikTok as fairly new, and it's huge now.
And you just mentioned going live is very important to your content. Where do you guys stand with going live on key moments?
Yeah, I think definitely on TikTok, live has its own really distinct place within our product. It's got its own very separate feed. So I think if you can have something really premium that can be really returnable, that you can use to go live on a really regular basis. I think for us it's another route to discoverability, because you're gonna reach a very separate cohort of users who are primarily engaging with the live for you feed.
What about you, Juul?
My first response would be not too important for us at this stage. It's a 24/7 economy, and a lot of times when something is happening here, Japan is asleep. So we are focusing more on these highlights whenever you like to see them. Of course, during the Saturday during final, of course, it's like crazy. Everybody, the whole world is watching. But it's not Champions League final every day. So it's I believe it's more like 24/7 creating great content. But in the live moment, having like the community interactions, yeah, that's amazing. So the fan-centric, player-centric, and having these kind of discussions, and a lot of times I really like the comments. You really like. It's so funny what people can come up with, and so that's in the moment. Yeah, that's gold.
And let's speak also about AI, as you just mentioned it. Where does 433 stand with that?
Yes, so especially with the app, I believe on the social media, we have the English language, but especially also on the app, I believe we hope that the whole world can enjoy football, and then we can help with that experience. And their languages is key. I believe that we can go 10 times in size, I think, if you add languages to that experience. And AI is helping with that. So we see it already happening with our content creation. And especially, but I really think this is like early days, and we will see so many different new things coming up with AI around football players, clubs, leagues, and what we do.
Yeah. Should people download the 433 app?
Yeah. Okay. There was a demand, right? To enter this.
This is a commercial space. You want to plug anything?
You presumably you've already all got TikToks on your phones already, though.
Yeah. Download it and subscribe to AFTV, right?
And DR Sports. DR Sports as well. That's our big platform.
And DR Sports, yeah. Little commercial break, and now we're back. What about AI for TikTok, Tim?
Yeah, good question. So I think kind of going back to what Jules was saying around content creation. I think you're going to see over the next 12 months, it will probably start to take a bigger place for TikTok. Like we've just announced that we're going to be rolling out a new AI-powered suite of content editing tools for advertising partners. That again, that's built around like lowering that barrier to content creation. And then I think also there's like how AI has already been existing on TikTok, like as a content vertical. So a lot of the AI generated filters, for example, that you can post with, how they over the last 12 months have become trending content formats in their own right. So that side of things has already existed for a little while, and will probably only continue to grow and only to become more sophisticated. And then obviously as with any platform, there's going to be the moderation size to which AI brings. So I think kind of touching, for a product like TikTok, it will continue to touch upon like a lot of different areas, I would say.
Yeah. So I believe a lot in the power of collaborations. Bring all kinds of sports properties together. If it's players, fans, leagues, publishers, clubs, to create cool content. Obviously, you're one of the houses to do so. How does 433 collaborate with football institutions to create content for fans?
Yeah, so some football clubs understand what is happening, so they're very open for the new things. Or it's not that new anymore, but finally they come through. But the last month we had collaborations with Man United, Man City. Sorry.
Someone with Juventus.
Yes, I just had a meeting with them before this meeting. So we are going, actually, Juventus really on the rise, and I'm really happy for them that they qualified for Champions League next year and where they should be. So, but yeah, the fun thing is you see a couple of clubs like, and then they're ahead of the curve. Sometimes there's some reverse, like there's some like old-fashioned president still not convinced that TV is not the only way people enjoy football. But we are, as from day one, and you can acknowledge that as from day one, we are always open for creating great stuff together, collaborations, brandscaping, and the great thing is that like we are very player fan centric, but the great thing is like even the players like Haaland, they like this guy followed us when he was 14 years old, and then just before he qualified for Norway, and we said, okay, congratulations with your first 100K followers, and then we gave him his first post on our platform, and boom, he had his first 100K followers, and so we love to do things together, and not commercially, but really like as members of this locker room, your friends. And creating great stuff, because I believe if you keep doing that, the followers or the fans, they will come, and that works for us.
And Tim, how does TikTok work with clubs and federations, leagues to give them more amplification, more reach?
Yeah, we try as much as we can to work with all equally as a content partner. I think in the UK we're really lucky in that all of particularly the largest football teams and the Premier League are such great exporters of content as well. And we know from the markets and users around the world that there remains a huge area of user demand for that. So for us, it's very much kind of like joining the dots between the two. So whether that's around helping them with geo-gated content towards target markets, for example, that might be, for example, on the ground creator activation support, which we've done a lot of, say with Tottenham Hotspur out in South Korea, with top local TikTok creators, Liverpool and Singapore, Arsenal out in the USA as well. So it can take a lot of different forms, because we always appreciate every single partner is different. Every single partner's their needs and objectives might be different as well. For example, we're doing a lot of work with the WSL, and also as that continues to develop in the NUCO, for example, they're trying a very big drive in the next 12 to 14 months to try and increase the marketability of that new proposition, try and increase the brand and recognition of the players as well, who can be great ambassadors for the league. Kind of diversifying it beyond just in the UK, where it's very built around the lionesses. We feel because of the way the content platform's built and because of the discoverability of that we're very well placed to help with that, for example.
And then you give them tips as well on best practices. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's we fortunately ever since I first joined about 3 years ago, we've now evolved from the place where kind of we need to be quite so day one in terms of this is what successful TikTok content is. But I think as users spend more time every single day on the TikTok app, kind of how they use the app, what they want to get out from the app is always going to change. Whether that's, for instance, like search being a really big driver for discovery, whether that's around long form content being a huge area of growth on TikTok. So it's very much around trying to kind of help future proof our partners for them as well.
Care to share any TikTok secrets for the people here?
I would say like number one, like 1 minute plus. I was saying like kind of huge. I would say particularly in the next 12, 24 months. If you're really serious about growing your footprint and growing your reach on the TikTok app, then you absolutely have to be finding a way or increasing your engagement with long form content on TikTok. And also it's just like kind of experimentation is really key. We always say whether it's a club, whether it's creator, for example, kind of what works today might not work tomorrow as well. I think kind of if you have a look at like who the top 20 sports creators in the UK are, it'd be a very different list of what it was 3 years ago, for example. So I think it's always kind of interrogating and trying to kind of refresh your content as well.
Going back to collaborations, Robbie, I know with DR Sports you have a show that involves all the top clubs in England. How do you find the willingness of these top clubs to collaborate on your content?
Yeah, I mean, it's influencers that represent all the top clubs, and it's easy. I mean, everybody wants to talk about football, you know what I mean? So we got some great guys that come on. Some of them are here at the conference. We was just doing a show earlier upstairs. So collaborations, I find absolutely key. Even on AFTV, doing collaborations is absolutely key. If we're playing, say, Man City, we'll speak with Man City fans, because the way to hear about what's really going on at Man City is to speak to a Man City fan, because he will tell you how good they're playing. He will tell you, I can't tell you how many times, for instance, there's been a player that I've looked at in an opposition team that I've been like, that player's amazing. Well, what are we going to do to stop him? And then you speak to a fan of that club and they go, he ain't played good for about 3 months. He's been having not a great season. Actually, this player's been playing better. He's the one you need to watch. So collaborations are brilliant because you get a real insight, but also it's just you're bringing audiences together, you're bringing clubs together, teams together. So absolutely key in the type of content that we do.
And where do football clubs come in? Like, do you have direct contact with them? Do you see, like, for example, willingness of an Arsenal to participate on your show or to do any special collab?
Not necessarily. I've done collaborations before in the past with Arsenal. I remember we did a collaboration around their tour that they do, which is a tour around the stadium and the museum and that. I've done collaborations with other clubs as well. I remember, I think it was last season, we did a collaboration with Manchester United when we were playing them, where I did some content for their official channel, and they did some stuff with us. So, yeah, I think it's a bit like what you're saying. More and more the clubs are starting to get it. I think in the early days, a lot of clubs would be, you tell them about collaboration, they circle the wagons and they're like, no chance, right? Because this might be a negativity might come out. But I think now they're getting to understand that actually, no, this is the platform. These are the platforms where the people are. You have to be a bit more open and honest about when you're talking. And fans understand, football clubs are got rights holders to protect and various, players to protect and stuff like that. But if you collaborate and, your content's more authentic and you reach more people. So I do feel a bit like what you said, that clubs are starting to open their eyes now more to and being a bit more. And there are some clubs that are a lot more progressive, like, dare I say it, Man City. They are, because I've done collaborations with them. I did a few things with them last season. So they are more open now to collaborating.
And you, being also a content creator yourself, what advice would you give football creators emerging in the football creator space?
Well, just to get out there and, number one, do it. Don't just talk about it, do it. But also to be, think of, try to create content that not everybody else is creating. Try and do it in your style. I mean, listen, if we're previewing a game, we're all previewing a game. But how are you going to make your thing a little bit different? And then also, you must be consistent. You can't just do something this week and then you disappear next week and then you come back. You've got to be consistent. When it comes to football, people are talking about football every single day. And if they're following you, they want you to talk about football every single day and they want or your platform to. And you've got to be consistent with it or they'll go elsewhere. So you must be consistent. That is absolutely key.
And let's speak a little bit about the global impact of football. Obviously, you mentioned it before, Juul. When it's night here, people in Japan are sleeping. How do you curate your content to cater like the full globe? And also, what trends have you noticed in recent fan engagement?
So in our followers, like we have global followers, and except China. So that's one of the countries where tomorrow I have a meeting about that. But you know, the thing is, like with the World Cup in 26 and what is going on, I think the audience will maybe triple the upcoming years. So it's a good era. AI, what we just spoke about, like will help us with translations and make it sure that also somebody who didn't go to school can enjoy this. And yeah, with like the help of the TikToks and the Instas, these guys, they don't sit still. They keep surprising us every time with like the smart guys. They thought about like how they can make it more personal. So I believe very much in the, a lot of people say global to local. I believe in global to personal. And I think, you know, the big platforms, they understand it better than whoever. So it's like especially the personal, from global to personal, that will go on steroids in also the upcoming era. So it's like, and there you have your global, you know, we have the global reach. And it's, you know, it's like don't have such a, you know, we have a big team, but not that big. And but with the help of technology and with this globalization in the audience, yeah, we will get there.
And a question for the three of you. How do you see the role of non-traditional media evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? Let's start with you, Tim.
Well, I think kind of on particularly on TikTok, like particularly with kind of like the growth of longer form on TikTok. Like I think we're going to see like a really big step change in terms of like how that affects both how premium content looks on the app, but then also like what that looks like for like creator kind of like 916 video on the app, particularly around say behind the scenes content, for example. I'm also really excited just with purely a TikTok lens about the rise of TikTok Shop on the app. You know, it's just launched in the US this year, for example. I think like, you know, how as we see that hopefully grow over the next 5 years, as we hopefully see that wider adoption on that, you know, how that can affect both in terms of like shoppable content on your feed, but also shoppable content potentially even like during like a live game, you know, whether it's like the kits that teams are wearing, you know, kind of like ticket to a certain match that they might be signposting. I think kind of like, you know, like adoption of that I think will be a really key thing to keep an eye on, and one that I'm really excited by.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because we have actually seen like content evolving from long to really short, and then shorter and shorter, and then going to 4 or 5 seconds.
It's the beast eating itself.
So now you think it's going to go back to a bit longer?
I think that kind of, you know, what kind of I always say to partners that, you know, like, yes, TikTok is still the same place that you might watch like a 15-20 second video. You might watch that over and over again, but it's also increasing the place that you might watch like a 1 to 2 minute video, and you might watch that all the way through. And those having those two distinct pieces of content are going to bring, you know, they're going to bring very distinctive benefits to your account, I would say.
What about you, Robbie?
Well, it's just forever changing. It's so exciting, you know what I mean? You just look at it, like I said, the AI's coming in now. How's that going to change the game? Are you going to see sort of like your Netflix and people like that getting more involved in football as well? You know, I think it's a really exciting time. I think as well, like with the clubs and with a lot of traditional media, they're now starting to understand that these things have changed now. It's different. They're looking to change. I spoke the other day at a conference for all of BBC's football staff, where they invited me to come and talk about how you engage with fans. They would never have asked me to do that back in the day, because they're recognizing it's a different ball game now. And you know, I just feel that it's all down to technology. With the different changes in technology, is going to see more and more different platforms. It's going to see some of the existing platforms like your TikToks, YouTube, getting even bigger, and you know, and being bigger players when it comes to football. So for me, it's an exciting time. Yeah, I mean, as I said, one of my guys was saying to me the other day, with AI, they may be able to create 4 of me and put me in different places. That would give me a little time off, you know what I mean? So, but no, I mean, so it's exciting. I can't answer your question specifically just because it's just forever changing right now, which is a good thing for this industry.
What about you, Juul?
Change is good. No, you have the Netflix, the Primes, the traditional television channels were fighting over rights. You know, that will definitely have a huge impact, and can have some like friction. I think in the upcoming years, where not everybody's able to watch the games. For instance, the traditional 90-minute games. Looking at what's happening at the Ballers League in Germany, Kings League from the Gerard Piqué, what is FIFA going to do about that kind of developments?
What do you think?
Sorry?
What do you think?
So yeah, maybe FIFA will buy them, but there's a lot of like the rights fighting over the football rights is going on. That's quite traditional world. And on the other hand, you have like the audience open for like, give me 5, 10, 15 seconds of like highlights. So at the same time, the traditional world is fighting over the rights and to maintain what they have or like keep in control, and then Saudi League suddenly invested a lot, and then MLS starts investing and giving shares to Messi. So it's a crazy time where we live in, and I think it's a wonderful, but it's like it's crazy. It's everywhere.
Thank you. Any closing remarks from any of you? No.
Just to say that, like, if you're whether you're a sports team, whether you're a brand, whether you're a rights holder, and you're looking to create content with sports, and you're looking for a moment that will grow your audience and give you a really, really good comms moment, I would, my biased opinion is the likeliest place that's going to happen is TikTok.
Nice. Nice.
And we will be there. Yeah.
Yeah. We need a bit more monetization on TikTok. Right? Yeah. I do love TikTok, but I mean, want to make a bit more money on it. But it's
make it happen.
Me too.
It is a great platform. It is, and as I said, I mean, it's been one of the emerging platforms for that wasn't really that prominent like 4 or 5 years ago for football, but now you have to be there because that's where the audience is.
No. Thank you guys all for joining in the audience. Thank you guys. Been fantastic to have you here, and see you next time.